Today's show is going to be a bit ambitious. It's going to be a path for the Browns to make the playoffs with Deshaun Watson now at the helm of a 4-7 Browns team. But if you are not giving up on the season, which I believe you aren't because you're still watching Browns content and you're not throwing in the towel in December, well then subscribe to the channel because we're not either. What's going on, Browns fans? Welcome into the Cleveland Browns Report by Chat Sports. I am your host, Matthew Peterson, and today's show, well, it's going to be a fun one. So sit back, relax, no need to buckle your seatbelt or anything. We, your cruise director, are going to guide you through a potential playoff path for the Browns now that Deshaun Watson is back. So, with that being said, I think it's important to set the foundation a little bit here, and that is just right off the cusp, looking at the current AFC playoff picture. Today's show, by the way, being filmed during our live show every Thursday at 4 Eastern. Now, having said that, the Chiefs, the 1 seed, I feel pretty confident about them holding on to that too. They look like the best team in football. The Browns are on the outside looking in at 4-7. The issue that I really run into for this Browns team, and I'll go in more depth on it in just a moment, is I don't think they're going to get into the playoffs as a wild card team. I think it's going to have to be through winning the division. AFC North currently looks like this. The Ravens and the Bengals are both tied at 7-4 with Baltimore having the tiebreaker, and the Browns and the Steelers also with the same record at 4-7 with Cleveland having the tiebreaker. So, before we even get into the probabilities and whatnot of the Browns making the playoffs and their path, which, looking at the schedule, step number 1 is win out. I really believe the Browns have to win out, which is a bummer because, 1, that's not easy to do, but 2, it really makes you kick yourself because you had so many, not just winnable games, but games you should have won with the Jets and the Chargers coming to mind. But you got to beat the Texans. You got to beat the Bengals, the Ravens, the Saints, the Commanders, and the Steelers. You have to win out. So with that being said, the New York Times does a playoff calculator. And I want to share that with you guys right now. If the Browns win in Week 13, they have a 4% chance of making the playoffs. According to the New York Times, it's currently a 2% chance. So one win this week isn't going to do a whole lot for them, actually. In matter of fact, winning next week, the following week, against Cincinnati on the road, doesn't boost their playoff odds all that much more either. It puts it to a 9% chance of making the playoffs. And then after that, when they play the Ravens at home, it is just a 17% chance. So those aren't chances of winning the games. Those are chances of, hey, if you win, what is your updated playoff probability? So winning the next 3, I know that feels like that would be a huge boost, and no doubt it would be. It would get you back to 500, but that's also it. You'd be 500 with 3 games left, and you'd be missing out on a lot of tiebreakers. Now, I'm going to tell you more about that in just a moment, but today's Browns Report is brought to you by Fetch. Fetch is a super easy to use and free app that lets you earn rewards on literally anything you buy. Scan physical or e-receipts and scan physical or e-receipts, and you will earn points for your purchases. And the process only takes seconds. You don't have to worry about where the receipt is from or what's on it. So let me show you how simple it is. All you do is open up the Fetch app, press the orange camera button, and snap a photo of your receipt. Then hit submit, and you'll see that confetti pop showing you that you've earned more reward points. It's a simple process. You can also click the e-receipt function to get rewarded for your Amazon purchases or other online shopping by syncing your email account. You can then redeem those points for gift cards at Amazon, Starbucks, or any of the 100 of retailers and restaurants available. Fetch is available on iPhone and Android. Use our link, chatsports.com/fetch. Enter promo code CHAT at sign up, and they're going to throw you 5,000 points when you scan your first receipt. That's the equivalent of a free $5 gift card to get started. It's a free app, and the 5,000 bonus points is only for a limited time. So get started now. Chatsports.com/fetch and enter promo code CHAT. The link is also in the comments and the description of today's show. So with that being said, Moving on here, the Bengals. This is why I think the Browns really have to win out. Let's look at the Bengals schedule for a quick second here. Cincinnati's 7-4. If the Browns have any chance of winning the division, realistically, the Bengals have to go 500 the rest of the way, right? 3-3 gets them to 10-7. I don't think they're only going to win 2 more games and go 9-8, but that's also great. But I think the most realistic thing that keeps the Browns alive is 500. So where are those 3 losses for Cincinnati? How about the Chiefs this week? Then you have to beat them with the Browns. So that's 2 losses right there. And then I see the Bills or the Ravens also being a loss. Cincinnati has a really tough schedule coming up. So I definitely could see them finishing 10-7 or maybe even 9-8, but let's just hold on to 10-7. As for the Ravens, the other 7-4 team, well, their schedule is a lot easier. They're probably going to beat the Broncos. Maybe Mike Tomlin knocks them off, though. Mike Tomlin's good for some of these games where when you count out the Steelers, he surprises you. The Browns have to win out, so that would be a loss. The Falcons are never an easy out. We also just saw Baltimore lose to Jacksonville. So I don't think you can just pencil in that as an easy win for them. Steelers and Bengals to round out the season. I'm looking at this right here. 3 losses. Steelers, Browns, Bengals on the road week 18. And that gets them to 10-7. And then you'd have a 3-way tie at 10-7. Now, what say you? Who will win the AFC North? The Ravens, the Bengals, or the Browns? I'm not going to even include the Pittsburgh Steelers. Pitt, they have no chance. They suck. But who do you think will win the AFC North? Let me know in the comment section. Like I said, I believe this. The Browns' best chance of making the playoffs is winning the division. I just don't see them making it through the wild card because who is competing for a wild card spot? 3 of the 4 AFC East teams. The Browns got swept by the AFC East. They have no tiebreakers there. The Chargers are absolutely going to be a wild card team this year. The Chiefs are winning the AFC West. Another team, the Browns, do not have a tiebreaker over. So I think if the Browns want to make the playoffs, it's going to be through the division. So now we go back to our New York Times playoff calculator. If they beat the Saints at home in Week 16, their probability of making the playoffs only improves to 24%. At this point, the Browns are now 8-7. They would have won 4 in a row as a 4-7 right now. Week 17, they go to Washington, which I said before the season gave me trap game vibes, and it still does today. I'm terrified of that game. That's a 47% chance. Clearly, the Browns are not getting much respect by the robots because they don't have the tiebreakers, right? That's a huge factor. The Browns know, hey, if we go head-to-head with any of the AFC East teams with a 10-7 record, we lose by rule of head-to-head. And then Week 18, win at the Steelers. Then your playoff chances improve to 82%. It's not until the last week where the Browns even get above 50% chance of making the playoffs. Despite, at this point, they would have won 6 in a row, 5 with Deshaun Watson going into Week 18. So I don't want to be a rain cloud because that's definitely a long shot. I don't know what's bigger hurdle. The Browns winning out or the Browns getting serious help from the Ravens and the Bengals self-destructing. I'm going to say it's probably the Browns winning out. The Bengals going 3-3 for the next 6 games doesn't feel like a huge ask when you look at some of the games that they have. Chiefs, Bills, Browns right there. That's 3 games that easily could be losses for Cincinnati. Now, as for Baltimore, they've got easier games. They got the Steelers twice, the Broncos, the Falcons. Those are teams not making the playoffs this year. But priority number 1 for me, to kind of go back to what's on screen, I want to see Stefanski and Deshaun Watson really get into a groove, right? Show us going into next year, hey, we've got the head coach and the QB down. We just got to get a better defensive coordinator, have our starting quarterback for the whole season, and tighten some things up in draft and free agency on the defensive line. Those aren't major projects for the offseason. So for that reason, as long as Watson and Stefanski show that they are forming a great connection for years to come, even if 10-7 doesn't get you into the playoffs by rule of tiebreakers, I'm not going to be too down in the dumps, although it would have been a bummer because if you you just beat the Jets, you'd be 11-6, and you'd be in. Oh, well. All right, what is your Super Bowl prediction, though? We are past the halfway point of the season. Let me know in the comments right now who you got in the Super Bowl from the AFC and the NFC. The NFC, I have no good feel on. I don't like the Vikings. I'm getting a skull chant from my producer right now. I'm not crazy about the Eagles, but I think the Eagles probably have the easiest path. They're going to be the 1 seed in the NFC. So I'll go with Philly. And out of the AFC, give me the Browns. Chiefs. I think the Chiefs are just one of those teams that everyone's just like, oh, it's the Bills year, and Kansas City's like, don't forget, we are the powerhouse of the NFL.